A celebration to remember. To register, visit serve.nebraska.gov and click Register Now. We hope to see you there. Paid for by Serve Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Adoption of teens from foster care is a topic not enough people know about, and we're here to change that. I'm April Dinwiddie, host of the new podcast, Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Each episode brings you compelling real-life adoption stories told by the families that live them with commentary from experts. Visit adoptuskids.org/podcast or subscribe to Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Administration for Children and Families and the Ad Council.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job,
not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? Or a 14-year-old girl who signs up to every after-school activity,
not to make friends, but just to get something to eat?
Or a retiree who fell ill and had to
choose between getting medicine or groceries.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were hungry. I am hungered in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
I'm Christy. I used to smoke cigarettes. I had smoker's cough and severe shortness of breath, and I knew I had to quit. Then I tried e-cigarettes, but I just ended up using both. I really didn't start to get better until I quit smoking completely. My tip to you is just cutting down on the number of cigarettes you smoke isn't enough.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is how we do every day. We be grinding, and if you want to come and text us.
If you love them enough to turn off your music and pretend like their music is your music.
This is Mommy's jam.
Then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids. First, I hold my hands out like they're on a steering wheel. Then I look over my shoulder. Next, I put it in reverse. Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
This is Bigger Than the Score with Peter Ferguson on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, good morning. Welcome to 93.7 The Ticket. This is Bigger Than the Score. I'm Peter Ferguson with Peter Ferguson BHS LLC. And as always, we say on the ones and twos, the Dr. Dre. I'm going to keep going until you get that title of The Ticket. Harrison, how you doing this morning, Harrison?
It's a great morning. We talked a little bit before when you got here. First thing I said, it's a great day to be a Husker. Yesterday, just top to bottom, awesome. Shout out to the volleyball team. Shout out to the football team. Just a good day, period.
Yeah, I was going to say the station. I was going to say you had you gave Forum in the morning off a little bit to go ahead and sleep in and, do that celebration. But yeah, it was a good day all the way around. Got to, see the Huskers pull off a well-earned win and some key contributors from some local area talent as well, which is always nice. I think a Kearney to a Lincoln East connection was a touchdown. So congratulations to them. And then I think the nightcap, not even the nightcap, I would say probably the focal point of the day again for Nebraska was Nebraska volleyball. And so for those that did not get the chance or were under a rock somewhere, the women won in 5 sets against Wisconsin, a 1-2 matchup, but just a great game. I mean, a great showcase of what could be hopefully, in the finals here in a couple months.
Absolutely. And then I loved how it just came on the call there at the very end.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the Nebraska lady's face when you could see it in her eyes when she saw Nebraska got the point.
Yeah.
She was like, oh my gosh, this place is about to go insane.
Yeah. Well, and then just them, the get back coaches, I always say, I thought Cook didn't want people to storm the court, and they was like, I wish they would storm the court. You just saw all the individuals in the yellow, like going like this. And I'm like, what makes you think that if they want to come, they're not going to come? But just a really good celebration all the way around. Again, another celebration of just women's sports, but just also showcasing the Huskers. So congratulations to them. A lot of things going on in the area. I mean, it's again that transition of that time of year, and just want to make some brief mentions and shout outs. Cross country championships happened this on Friday, many times, Thursday and Friday, kind of for Class A, and then also for the other classes. Lincoln High got in and kind of surprised some people, and so they upset a couple teams, and so had representation. So definitely just want to give a shout out to them. Standing Bear had some of their first state participants as the first year
that's
school.
awesome.
So, always want to, mention that. And then Northwest also continues to kind of, build on that progress as a second year program, and had some state representation, I think, not only in tennis, but also in cross country as well. So congratulations to them. You got the volleyball districts. So as off the heels of the Huskers playing, the volleyball districts went on not only in the HAC, but also Omaha, and then it's kind of leading into state. That'll happen here in a couple weeks. And so Southwest took the HAC title again. I believe this is the third year in a row. So congratulations to the Silverhawks. And then got football playoffs. That wrapped up. You got a big commit from Caleb Benning. But with that, football playoffs were announced. And so I believe 3 Lincoln schools are going to participate. So North Star, East and Southeast. And so East and Southeast, I believe, are one of the matchups. They're a matchup here in town. So congratulations to those 3. And then tennis, East won state championship in regards to that. We talked about golf last week. Last year.
Well, we probably did.
Yeah, we probably did. So, but tennis, East did. And then Marin Razdershak, who's been on the show, she's from Crete. They were conference champs. And so she talked about just how that program has kind of continued to kind of elevate. And so it was great to just kind of see that success. So I wanted to give a shout out to Marin Razdershak and the Crete volleyball team for their conference championship. That was a pretty cool deal.
Absolutely. Yep. And, just even shout out to some of the teams that didn't quite make the playoffs. I know Lincoln Southwest, their game ended. It was a close one at the end there, 14-21, I think was the final score against Miller North. But yeah, just kind of getting to that point where a lot of seasons are ending, some playoff bursts are starting, but it's kind of cool to see, we talked about Standing Bear, Lincoln Northwest, those newer schools, kind of starting to get in the mix there. And it was Northwest, they got 2 classes. Sophomores is the oldest one, or is it juniors?
So Standing Bear just has sophomore or freshmen and a few sophomores. Not even, I think it's less than 25.
That's awesome. Those guys are already kind of getting some representation. I want to ask you, Pete, what's kind of when you're looking at this point in the season, if you have any advice for the people that seasons are kind of ending, what are some of the things that even just parents should be happy about, look forward to, just kind of that recollection period where, the season might not have ended where you wanted to, but nonetheless, still a good season that you should, be proud of.
Yeah. We always talk about just taking in those moments. I think sometimes we wait till the end and it's senior night, you walk out, there's tears and everything. But I think what the most important thing to me is just, what did you do during the course of the year? What moments did you capture? And then you can have those conversations. You can reflect on those. And so if it, there's only a handful of teams that end the way they want it to with a championship. Really, there's really only, so if you're waiting for that moment to celebrate or be heartbroken, then for me, I think you kind of did a disservice. And so I think just take it all in. Be happy that you were able to have the experience at whatever level you were at, whether you played, whether you're on the bench, and realize that's the, not maybe the end. That's not the pinnacle of what it was. There was a pinnacle somewhere throughout the course of that journey.
Absolutely.
So that's the way I look at it. I had to look at it this weekend. We traveled to Edmond, Oklahoma and Pitts, Kansas, and UNK volleyball team didn't probably have their best weekend. Took 2 losses, and it was, people say, oh, well, is that, it was like there were things in that I took as we went, the places we went, watching the girls have the opportunity. And so how do they handle that adversity? Those are the things I'm going to take with me as I kind of walk in senior night on next Saturday, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's always a big part, and I'll always kind of give credit to my parents for that.
Yeah.
They're just happy, regardless win or loss after the game, they're just kind of happy to be there and support me regardless. And, if you are a parent out there, even just a student athlete, it's definitely kind of part of that journey. We say it all the time. Like there's only one person's going to win it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just about everyone else is going to go home, a little disappointed probably on that first, initial moment when you realize it didn't quite make that pinnacle. But definitely you got to be just happy with the journey, the experience, the ability to even just go and play those sports. We've had people in here that had to go through the COVID experience, and we got our first list
there. We got
outside the window.
We got
already.
Michael Alvarez. Michael Alvarez, who showed up. His son Aiden was running cross country. We were just talking about, are we going to have a visitor or a guest? And so shout out to Mr. Alvarez for the first bigger than the show, as Raph calls him, roadie.
Yeah, Raph roadies is what he likes to call them. And but yeah, absolutely. You know what? Check it out. 1040 O Street. We're gonna have shows all day. This is the first one. No Inside the Huddle, obviously with Jay Foreman traveling. But yeah, we got Bigger Than the Score right here, and then we got Fitness Fanatics. That one's really fun. That's the one where we get the big crowd.
Oh
outside
yeah,
the
we're gonna get them make a run for money. I'm gonna have a team out here one of these times. So.
Yeah, and I could waste time listing all the shows, but basically there's shows all day is my point here. So 1040 O Street, if you haven't checked out the new station, grab yourself a coffee, hang out, meet some of the on-air talent that we have here. Try not to talk about the Cowboys too much. I don't want Pete Ferguson
no,
we're
not going to use that time. But I think with the women's volleyball and everything that happened, a great transition because I want to make sure we have time for our guests, and so I want to kind of bring them in right off the bat. And so we're joined here this morning with scholar Jordan Collins, and Jordan is a junior over at Lincoln High School. Jordan, how you doing this morning? All right, Jordan's about to make it happen. Jordan, I'm going to have to scoot up just a little bit, but Jordan is making things happen, and I'm excited to hear about her journey. And then we have I want to say founder, owner, extraordinaire of She Made, and she's going to tell you a little bit about that, but Teresa Friesen.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
No, awesome. I'm glad you're here. And then also streaming in, we have Kyra Brown, who is a scholar athlete at Vanderbilt University. She runs track. Runs it, participates in the field as well as academics. So Kyra, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Fantastic. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. Well, hey, let's get started just a little bit. If each of you could share just a little bit about who you are. Have you, usually I say lived in Lincoln. So Kyra, I know that's not the case for you, but where have you lived? Where have you gone to school? And then kind of who makes up like your family, your group? And so Jordan, I'm going to start with you.
Okay. I've lived in Lincoln my whole life, and my family is my mom, me, 8 brothers, 3 dogs, 4 cats. Yeah.
Okay. Where did you go to school in Lincoln? For those that may want to go ahead and show some love.
I went to Human Elementary, then Belmont Elementary, then Leffler Middle School, and now I go to Lincoln High.
Okay. And I'm gonna prompt you one more time. You got to give some names and some love, some shout outs to those individuals. You said 8 brothers. 8 brothers. So yeah, and okay, start with your mom's name though. Start with your mom's name.
Kendra.
Okay. And give the siblings. I'll say either the siblings or you can name the pets. Which one do you think feels more relevant?
Probably the siblings.
All right, go ahead. Give them some love.
Mason, Camden, Ronan, Miles, Quentin, Denzel, and Remington, Romeo, and Sebastian.
Oh, fantastic. Didn't miss one, so I appreciate that. Teresa, how about you?
Hi, good morning. Yeah, my name is Teresa Friesen. I actually grew up in Omaha, but I try to get to Lincoln when I can. I started this business just about 2 years ago, and I started it out of Lincoln. It came about from an event I attended where the University of Nebraska Athletics Department was talking about kind of the lived experience of athletics and what their athletes experience on a day-to-day basis. And so our company was born here, but I'm from Omaha.
Okay. And so where did you go to school in Omaha?
I went to St. Gerald's in the early years, and then I went to Scott for high school.
Okay, fantastic. And who makes up your family, so to speak?
Yeah. So my family growing up was my mom and dad. My mom died of cancer when I was 21, and so it's been my dad, my brother and sister, and I. But about a year ago, my dad remarried for the first time. I guess I should say he remarried. He had been single for like 15 years, and so now all of a sudden I have this really large blended beautiful family. So really grateful for that. They are kind of concentrated in the Gretna type area.
Okay, awesome, fantastic. And Kyra, what about you? I would say, like, are you from the Nebraska area? But that makes sense. You'll tell us a little bit about your story. But where are you from, and kind of what's been your journey?
Yeah, I'm from Somerset, New Jersey. I went to an all-girls private high school, Kent Place, in North New Jersey. Then I went to Vanderbilt for undergrad, ran there for 4 years, and now I'm doing my 5th year in DC at Georgetown. So that's a little bit of my academic journey.
Awesome. And tell, for those that aren't familiar, where is, you said Somerset, New Jersey, where is that?
It's central New Jersey. So Nebraska has the Big Ten, right? So I live really close to Rutgers, if that's at all helpful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And as far as like your experience, you said you're at, you did Vanderbilt and ran track and field there. What kind of was your journey to bring you to Vanderbilt?
I went through 4 coaches in my 4 years at high school. And so the big thing that academics were obviously first. And then after that, looking at athletics, I wanted a place where I'd have a good relationship with the coach and feel a part of the team, because there'd been so much turnover in my in my high school experience. And so I visited Vanderbilt first, actually. And I was like, it seems nice. I like everyone here, but every school must be like this. And then every other visit was not like that. And so by the end, driving home from my last school, I was like, I'm going to Vanderbilt. Like, that's the place that felt like home. And it was absolutely the right decision, even though I had to leave for my 5th year for academic reasons. Like, it was the best decision I could have made. And I'm so grateful for them.
Awesome. No, thank you for sharing. Jordan, tell us a little bit about what are you involved in? Obviously academics, and Kyra just mentioned, obviously that's the first and foremost, but there's some special things that you're involved in.
Yeah, so I'm in the IB program, which is International Baccalaureate. It's kind of like AP, but it's a little bit different in some ways. And then I also play basketball.
Okay. And you're being really modest. You said, tell us a little bit about the classes you take, because when people say IB programs, she's like, it's a little bit like AP. It's AP on steroids. Like, when you leave, you basically are leaving with college. Like, you are basically like a junior in college. So tell us the type of classes you're taking in the IB program.
I mean, yeah, it is mostly college classes. To me, it doesn't feel like the way that everyone makes it out to be like, oh, these are super hard classes, because the environment is really fun and the teachers really make learning interesting. So I guess I don't see it the way that it's like, oh, it's so hard, this, that. If you think you can do it, you can. And I think I can do it, so I'm doing it.
I like that. Give us 3 classes that you're taking.
IB visual art is my favorite.
Okay.
I love art, so
Awesome.
I love that. And then I think IB Spanish is my second favorite. And then IB history is pretty cool too.
Okay. I like how they got it. When you says IB in front of it like that, I never had that going through school. So it's like, I just want to go ahead and put like, oh, Spanish. No, that is IB or AP.
Yeah,
so I appreciate that. I'm living vicariously through you a little bit. Tell us, Teresa, a little bit, just some other things you're involved in. Obviously, as the owner and the founder with SheMate, what are some things that gets you involved in, kind of connected to the organization, or maybe not connected to it?
Yeah. When I started this business, it was the first time I had been in business, and really the first time that I've been involved in the sports industry in this kind of way. So it's really introduced me to a lot of new things. I've been much more in tuned to sports, especially women's sports, and it's an amazing time to be involved in women's sports. So that's been an absolute blast. And then also that's in the startup world. So the startup ecosystems in Lincoln and Omaha are really amazing. They are also kind of on the brink of big things. It's been very intentionally developed more recently. And so joining those communities has been really incredible. And then I also have a 6-year-old daughter, so
Awesome.
A lot of involvement
Yeah,
and the parenting side as
you
well.
got to give her a shout out
Of
and her
course,
name and
of
everything.
course.
She's up listening to Bigger Than the Score. Come on now. What's
Once
your
we
name?
transitioned, I was like, oh no, I need to also have
I
my
was like, I
daughter.
knew about it, but I was like, okay, she's just gonna leave her kid out there. Witness protection program or something. I didn't know. So
She was supposed to be the ultimate
Yeah.
and like this big. Yeah. So my 6-year-old daughter, she's actually in a dual language English school, which has been really great. And so it's been actually kind of fun to like be learning Spanish alongside her. So
awesome. What's your name?
Santana.
Awesome, Santana. So Santana, you're listening out there. Hey, shout out from Bigger Than the Score. Kyra, tell us a little bit. What are some things? Obviously, you were involved in track and field. You said academics, but what are some things that you were involved in maybe in high school and maybe continue to be to this day?
Sure. Yeah, I think high school I had the most time for other activities. So I did theater throughout high school, which was super fun for me because you could do it during the day. So I wasn't in any plays, but we had a program in my high school where we were a group of 8 or 9 usually that wrote all of our own material and performed for the school 2 to 3 times a year. So that was so much fun. And then other than that, what did I do in high school? I was president of our Black Student Union for a year. I was really involved in that. And then I think in college, I kind of found more interests in terms of I was still involved in our Black Student Union that I think cropped up my sophomore year, or in our Black Student Athlete Union as well. Sorry, that's what I ended up being vice president of by my senior year. I've always been interested in activism, and in my sophomore year, I joined the National College Players Association, which advocates for college athletes' rights. So that has been so cool, and I've gotten so many cool experiences out of that. And also just learned so much. And the landscape of college athletics has changed so much since I was a sophomore, with NIL and Austin payments and all of these things. So those have been super cool. And right now, I think my main extracurricular would be I've joined a fellowship for athletes called the Engaged Athlete Fellowship. And so we're really focused on promoting civic engagement in athletics. So that's what I've been working on most at the moment. But my undergrad and master's degrees are in public policy. So these are all kind of within my wheelhouse or things that I enjoy. Yeah.
So it's not that you're not staying busy by any means. Well, hey, we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more of just the landscape of women in athletics, but just also women in the community, about relationships. And then I want to get into a little bit about SheMate in regards to just mentoring. Why is that important? And then the uniqueness of what you do at SheMate that Kyra's a part of, and Jordan, definitely I want to get her engaged in some of this as well. So we'll be back right after this break on 93.7 The Ticket, Bigger Than the Score.
Chances are you're a busy person. Chances are you'd rather not drive down to Beatrice for your favorite desserts. Chances are you'd really benefit from a Lincoln location for all of your fruitcake, liqueur cake, and breakfast bread needs. Insert Beatrice Bakery in downtown Lincoln. 1040 O Street, the new 93.7 The Ticket Studios. Just grab a cake out of the cooler, pay at the counter, and you're headed home with the delicious, fruity, nutty, decadent treat of your choice. Beatrice Bakery, online at beatricebakery.com or now in downtown Lincoln at 1040 O Street.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends, surprise parties, camps, birthdays. The same way you plan for the important moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Sometimes I just cannot believe all the storms we've gone through here. I can only hope that we'll be able to leave this house to you one day, baby. You're our legacy.
Planning for these disasters will make sure we're safe, and is the best way to protect that legacy.
Protect your legacy. Visit ready.gov/plan for the tools and tips you need to start your emergency preparedness plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Plains Cover Crop is your one-stop seed shop. Call us now for spring and summer forages, CRP mixes, and fall cover crop blends. We do farm-specific consulting for practical and efficient seed blends to fit your geography and goals. With a very diverse inventory, we will tailor a blend just for you. We're also looking for contract growers, and we buy and sell rye. Find us online at plainscovercrop.com. Timeless agronomy practices paired with modern technology. East Highway 20 in Orchard and across Nebraska.
Husker fans, head coach Amy Williams and your Husker women's basketball team want to see you at Pinnacle Bank Arena this season. Season tickets are on sale now. Reserve your spot to cheer on the Huskers as they take on some of the best teams in the Big Ten and around the country. Opponents include Creighton, Maryland, Indiana, Iowa, and more. To buy tickets, go to huskers.com/tickets or call 1-800-8-BIG-RED. They have a full season of fun set for this year. For promotional information, visit huskers.com.
Mario fue pintor más de 30 años. Cuando me dijo que se le estaban olvidando las cosas, fue difícil. Un día me dijeron que pintara el marco del lado por dentro y pinté el lado de afuera.
Yo le diría a la gente que le diga a su familia lo que está pasando con él.
Si algo se nota diferente, podría ser Alzheimer. Es momento de hablarlo. Visita alz.org/nuestras historias para saber más. Un mensaje de the Alzheimer's Association y the Ad Council.
Most parents have a homework schedule for the weekdays, but don't forget to cover the weekends. I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. A good way to avoid a problem is to set a homework schedule for the weekend. Set aside a couple hours of homework time on Saturday and help your student avoid staying up late Sunday night to finish a project. Remember, communicating with your child's teacher is vital for student success.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
On the Block with Strick and Austin.
Yes, the rest of the roster has to elevate the quarterback, but the quarterback also has to elevate the rest of the roster. Haven't seen from Heinrich Haarberg yet. I'm willing to give him the rest of the year. I'm willing to say that he can be the guy next year, but then you have to have realistic expectations in mind for Nebraska, and to me, that's 6 or 7 wins.
Weekdays from 2 to 4 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job?
Not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters.
Or a mother who's in between jobs
and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner.
Or a 14-year-old girl who signs up to every after-school activity,
not to make friends, but just to get something to eat.
Or a retiree who fell ill and had to
choose between getting medicine or groceries.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were hungry. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
Back to Bigger Than the Score with Peter Ferguson on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back to 93.7 The Ticket. This is Bigger Than the Score with Peter Ferguson VHS LLC, and joined on the board on the ones and twos, as always, with Harrison. Truly appreciative of him coming up and keeping things rolling. We've had two in-studio guests, and then one that is virtually streaming in, and really appreciative of that. We've got Teresa Friesen, who is the CEO, founder, and owner of SheMate. And she's going to tell a little bit more about that. It's a women's-led mentoring organization for teams and scholar athletes. We've got Jordan Collins, who is a junior, a smart junior, and the International Baccalaureate program over at Lincoln High School, and also does participate in basketball. And then we have Kyra Brown, who is a former scholar athlete from Vanderbilt, and she said she's at Georgetown now, correct?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. And so excited to have all three of them on. I think as we kind of lead into a little bit about SheMate and then the power of mentoring, I kind of like to ask each of you this question. And Jordan, we'll start to you. Just talk about just a little bit about, a relationship that you've had, and why are relationships important? Why do relationships matter?
I think my favorite relationship, like outside of family, would have to be my 5th grade teacher, Miss Ehrlich. because she was just very involved with me even after I left middle school. And my brother, or not middle school, elementary school, and my brothers went there too. So I would go in and I would see her like student conference or parent teacher conferences or whatever. And like she'll email me, and she's a person that I can always talk to if I need it. And I just love her a lot.
Awesome. And so for those out there in the community, Mrs. E is a longtime educator, I believe 30 years plus over at Belmont Elementary School. And so always great to hear that and that affirmation. Kyra, I'm going to come to you. Why do relationships matter? And then can you speak a little bit about a relationship maybe that you've had that has kind of propelled you in a positive way?
Yeah, relationships are everything. I think especially it's easier to point them out in sports because you're just kind of hanging out with people every day. But I would not be where I am without teachers who believe that pushed me further than I thought I could go. Coaches who set times and I said, there's no way I'm going to hit that. But they believed and they pushed me until I did. So I've been blessed with a ton of great relationships. My parents have always been super supportive. But I think today I want to shout out, I guess, she was a sophomore when I was a freshman. So Taya Shelby was 1 year ahead of me at Vanderbilt. She's amazing, All-American, like just hands down one of the best athletes I've ever had the privilege of training with. And she has been like such a great mentor to me. And I think we've been able to, we're all over the Vanderbilt relay records together. But just every day pushing me, and she, honestly, I'm never going to run the time she's run. But that didn't stop her from like constantly pushing me to be better and encouraging me and working with me. And I think relays are a super special place because like 4 girls come together to do something neither of us could do alone. But I think those relationships where people who can kind of reach back, and she's not that much older than me, but provide what they can and do what they can for others. And I try to do that now. I'm a 5th year. In a new program, like working with our freshmen and our sophomores. So I try to do for them what Taya has done for me. So I think those kinds of peer relationships have always been super important to me.
Awesome. Thank you. Teresa, kind of building off that, like what are, you talked about relationship matters and you've heard from 2 smaller athletes, but I'm sure you hear that countlessly over and over. And part of the foundation of why you did what you did with your company. What are the unique needs of female athletes and how are you addressing those with relationships through SheMate?
Yeah, I grew up in a sports loving family, and so we watched a lot of sports TV. That was kind of like a weekend thing that we would do. It also became very relational and communal, where it was a fun gathering. It usually revolved around football and men's basketball, and so it was this really positive association. But what I realized over time is, hey, we're never watching women's sports on TV. And it wasn't because the people gathering didn't want to, but it's just because it wasn't being displayed on TV. And so over time, I started realizing, we're missing a lot of positive representation of women on screen. And when we don't display things like women's sports, the things that we see represented on screen for women can really be reductive or limited. And so I started recognizing, okay, how can we utilize platforms and really expand representation and engagement? And so when I started exploring the idea of creating SheMate, it started by having just hundreds of conversations with women in sports. And so these were college, professional, Olympic, Paralympic women. And through a bunch of conversations, I started noticing these recurring themes. One is that they want to connect with each other, and 2, they want to connect with young people looking up to them. And there hasn't really been a pathway where that's been easy. There's not really a space where it's possible to have interactive, synchronous dialogue with people who are just a couple years ahead of you and can really, understand you and your perspective and offer those words of encouragement. I think Kyra's example of her own peer-like mentor who's just 1 year ahead demonstrates the power of that understanding and encouragement. And so we like to keep it, with people who are just pretty close in age and experience and have a really grounded understanding of how to support each other. But really that community focus and that demonstration that, hey, what you're going through is common. I've been there and here's what I did and I'm happy to help you.
Awesome. And so as you look at that in the platform that you have, tell me what's been one of those, just, you talked about a couple aha moments, but what's been something that you've seen out of it that you're like, this was the right thing?
Yeah. So, first, when I was exploring the idea of Shemate, it was actually surrounding NIL and how to increase NIL opportunities for women athletes. And so when I started exploring that space, what I found pretty quickly is that it wasn't as much about just wanting to get NIL deals. There's definitely, a lot of interest to explore in that space. But what I found was that so many women athletes really wanted to utilize the NIL opportunity to do something that they felt really proud of, that created meaning and purpose in their lives, but also in the lives of others. And so because of NIL, we can essentially utilize that to pay women for their work by connecting them with young people looking up to them and mentoring. And so it's the financial transaction saying, hey, we value your time, we value your words and your story. But it's also, the resume building and the brand building for our athletes, where they get to have something again that they're really proud of and can be confident about. What we hear a lot from our athletes, which contributes to this aha moment, is that so many of them identify that transition out of sports as a really challenging one. It's a really jarring transition. And so if we can be part of that process where they can demonstrate that the work that they did with us is preparing them for the career that they would like, that's something that's also really important to us.
Awesome. Fantastic. I want to go back to something you said in your first, just kind of when you shared a little bit about that representation and that communal family of watching sports. Jordan, why does representation matter? I mean, we celebrated a year ago, the kind of the 50th anniversary of Title IX and women in athletics, but why does representation matter and you seeing yourself? We've had some great things. We talked earlier about Nebraska volleyball, 9,000 people saw a game last night. It was in prime time, 93 some thousand people, at Memorial Stadium. But for you, why does it absolutely matter to be able to see females, but also just to see females of color on TV having success and being, not sharing space, but being in the space?
Seeing someone who looks like me just gives me it tells me that I can do it. And if I'm looking at, I'm like, oh, it's just guys doing it, it's a little bit discouraging. But seeing women do it, and especially women of color, is really well, if they can do it, I can do it too. It is achievable. It's not everyone's against you. It's not that it's never going to happen. It is possible. And it just gives me the courage to try more things and to really go out for stuff like that.
No, fantastic. Kyra, I was prompted a little bit by Teresa on a story that you have, but about, representation. Why does that matter? And she shared a little bit about your story about not necessarily even seeking an athletic scholarship. You were more so seeking academic. And so talk a little bit about that and why does, seeing yourself and representation matter in order for you to achieve those things?
Representation was hugely important for me. I think even as early as high school, the woman who holds the 400-meter record in my high school is a Black woman. She's the head coach at Dartmouth now, but she was the head coach at UPenn when I was in high school. And I remember I ran a really good race at a meet that she was attending for recruiting purposes. And I thought I had her record. She texted me, congratulations, because she thought I had her record. I was the tiniest bit off, which was tough. But having her in the stands cheering for me in what was a tumultuous time my junior year, I would say, that was hugely important to me. And just to be able to see a Black woman head coach, which there still are not that many of, was super amazing. And then 2 years later, Vanderbilt underwent a coaching change. And then I had 2 years of an amazing Black woman head coach. So I think those sorts of, the relationships are different when you can see yourself in that person in leadership. And also it makes you believe that you can do things that you probably didn't think before, just because you have that support and that visual of someone who's been there and done the thing that you want to do, who's also in your corner, has been amazing for me.
Awesome. So what are some of the unique, I'm gonna go back to you, Jordan. What are some unique needs for female scholar athletes? What do you think are some unique things that you as a female scholar athlete, even as a scholar athlete of diversity, say like, this is something I actually need in order to be successful and thrive?
I think a good support system, especially people who have similar experiences as you, like my basketball team, is very important to me because to connect off the court helps you connect on the court as well. And we're all just really good friends. So it's like a little family, and it's really nice to have that support system, to have people you can talk to, and to have people that you know are on your side and are wanting to lift you up and want you to succeed.
Awesome. So, same thing to you, Kyra. What are some things that are unique that you feel like, okay, this is unique to female athletes or female scholars in general, that if we're absent of this, our likelihood to succeed is lessened?
Yeah, community. I think like just thinking back to times where someone says something that you think isn't okay, but you don't really know. And you look to someone like, did you hear that too? Did you also think that was weird? And when there's no one to look at, then you just think you're a crazy person for picking up on a microaggression or something like that. But if there's someone else in the room who you can look at and discuss after and say, no, this wasn't okay, what are we going to do about it? Instead of being the only person in the room has been a huge need for any marginalized group in a space. More specifically to women, I think the belief that women athletes can be special and important has been, I went to an all-girls high school. So I didn't compete with football for fans because we didn't have it. Not that people really come to track meets anyway, but there wasn't that like resource.
You haven't been to Omaha State track now. So there are people that come to track meet here in Nebraska. So we need to bring you down and have that experience.
Yeah. Okay. But I think like not having that resource imbalance and then getting to college and thinking, oh, maybe not everyone has like these same resources for women's sports was a hugely jarring moment for me. And part of the reason I joined the College Players Association to start advocating for those for colleges to actually follow Title IX. But yeah, I think definitely resources and just that belief that women's sports matter is super important.
Fantastic. Thanks. So one of the things that what I want to do, Teresa, just quickly, maybe just share a little bit, like what are some things that you're finding out through SheMate that are absolutely necessary to be present for enhanced success, not guaranteed success, but to enhance the likelihood of success?
Yeah. So SheMate, one of the most kind of typical things that we do are virtual mentoring series. And so we'll work with a school or a club, and they'll say, hey, we want to work with you and bring your services to our students. And so we do a 5-week virtual mentoring series for that group. And so the group of students, typically high school age, they are the same every week. We have a group facilitator who's the same every week. And then we bring in new athletes each week so that they get to hear a wide variety of experiences and perspectives. We just concluded a series with a school. And so we asked students about, their takeaways from the experience. And one of the most common things that we heard from our high school students was this, I'm going to say, quote, realization. Not that it was necessarily new, but it was really reaffirmed that they are more than their sport, and recognizing that they are, whole people and they have a lot of components to their full selves, and that their worth is not dependent upon their performance in the sports athletic world. And to see how often that really hit people and really resonated with young people really stood out to me and reminded me that we need to continue ensuring that we're connecting our community with young people who could really benefit from hearing from them. We've grown our community to, over 3,000 athletes have applied to work with us at this point, which is so incredible. But it also demonstrates that there are all these people who want to positively influence and connect with young people looking up to them. And so we want to really ensure that we're making our community accessible to schools and clubs.
Fantastic. Well, hey, we're going to go to break, but when we come back, we're going to get a little bit of a sample of what that looks like between Kyra and Jordan, and have you facilitate like what kind of one of those sessions might look like for those that are interested in SheMate. So we'll be back after this quick break on 93.7 The Ticket, Bigger Than the Score.
Whether you're booking a trip to Lincoln for a football game or a volleyball weekend, the Scarlet Hotel at Innovation Campus is the place for you. The Scarlet Hotel is special on many levels, from the delicious Well and Good restaurant on the main floor to the coolest rooftop patio bar in Lincoln, the Barred Owl, on the top floor of the hotel with great views of the city and one of the coolest drink menus. Book your stay or book a staycation today at scarlethotelnebraska.com.
Constructors Inc., a Nebco company, is now hiring mechanics to maintain fleet equipment and vehicle operations. Constructors offers mechanics a competitive salary, 4-day work weeks with overtime options, a $5,000 hiring bonus, a tool allowance, and great benefits. Join the crew today and be a part of Nebraska's oldest paving company dating back to 1908. Apply today for their open mechanic positions. Visit constructorslincoln.com.
The dangers of secondhand smoke are well known. But what about secondhand aerosol, which is created when using e-cigarettes? Science already shows a secondhand aerosol can contain nicotine, heavy metals, and cancer-causing agents. Eliminating exposure to secondhand aerosol is an important step to keeping everyone safe. Breathe easier knowing the facts.
For help quitting, call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids. First, I hold my hands out like they're on a steering wheel. Then I look over my shoulder. Next, I put it in reverse. Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
This is your captain. We are going to be experiencing some slight turbulence. Please fasten your... Oh, hold on. Just got a video of my cat.
Imagine the pilot of an airplane was as confident as you are texting and driving. Seems kind of crazy when you put it like that.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
So what's this new concept happening at 1040 O Street? There's 93.7 The Ticket, there's The Mill Coffee and Tea, and there's Grandma's Bake Shop and Beatrice Bakery? Well, yeah, it's all of those things. It's a place for the community to hang out, grab a drink and a bite, and just chill, or work, or meet, or chat, or whatever you want to do. 93.7 The Ticket, The Mill Coffee and Tea, Grandma's Bake Shop and Beatrice Bakery, all together at 1040 O Street.
How was your drive to school?
Let me tell you, I had to get my iced coffee first. I just can't seem to put it down. My favorite rapper just announced a tour. My phone was buzzing like crazy. I'm so excited. I had to text all my friends right then to talk about it. Then someone started calling me and...
Let's try that again.
I turned my phone off right away. I never drive distracted.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Old School with DP and J.
So you got a bunch of young guys that have nothing to lose. So just go out there like nothing to lose. Nobody's expecting you to be like the greatest in the Big Ten. But then the only way that you're going to really jumpstart your development is really going out there and playing balls to the wall. Because if you go through and kind of like tiptoe and just moving around, well, when it comes down to when you really got to do it, you're going to let yourself down.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
So what's this new concept happening at 1040 O Street? There's 93.7 The Ticket, there's The Mill Coffee and Tea, and there's Grandma's Bake Shop and Beatrice Bakery? Well, yeah, it's all of those things. It's a place for the community to hang out, grab a drink and a bite, and just chill, or work, or meet, or chat, or whatever you want to do. 93.7 The Ticket, The Mill Coffee and Tea, Grandma's Bake Shop and Beatrice Bakery, all together at 1040 O Street.
Getting experience to jumpstart a meaningful career can be difficult, and education can cost a fortune. Luckily, AmeriCorps can be the solution. With AmeriCorps, you'll earn a stipend and education award while helping people. Plus, you'll gain professional skills and make connections to help you build your career. If you're ready to start a career you can be proud of, visit serve.nebraska.gov/service to find a program for you. Paid for by Serve Nebraska, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is where it happens. Long hikes with friends, kayaking adventures with family, more horseback riding, zipline gliding, rock face climbing, hammock camping fun than you could ever imagine. And it's all outdoors, amongst the trees and across the prairie, here beneath Nebraska skies. Plan an outing today at yournebraskaadventure.com. Sponsored by Nebraska Game and Parks, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Back to Bigger Than the Score with Peter Ferguson on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back to 93.7 The Ticket, Bigger Than the Score. This is Peter Ferguson again with Peter Ferguson BHS LLC, and joined on the ones and twos again. Really thankful for this, Harrison. We've had a great show so far this morning, a little bit unique as you've seen kind of my releases and posts and everything, but have been great to have Teresa Friesen, who's the CEO, founder of SheMate, and they are a women-led mentoring organization for teams and scholar athletes. We've had Jordan Collins, who is a junior over at Lincoln High School. She is a part of the IB program, the International Baccalaureate program, and also is a scholar athlete on the women's basketball team. And then Kyra Brown, who is a former scholar athlete over at Vanderbilt and now at Georgetown. And so really appreciative of her streaming in as well. What I want to do is Teresa, I want to turn this over to you. And if we can get just a brief sample of like what a session looks like. And I was going to ask you to facilitate that and have Kyra and Jordan participate in that, and then kind of just afterwards debrief a little bit. So I'll kind of let you go ahead and take it from here.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. So for all of you joining us with SheMate, we do these virtual group mentoring sessions. And so it allows athletes to have direct interactive conversations with young people looking up to them. Kyra, you have been a person that I've talked to in this space quite a few times at this point. And so it's really good to have you back. And one of the things that always strikes me in conversations with you is about the ways that you have prioritized your academic goals and your focuses on what you are looking to do in your future, and that athletics is a part of your journey, but not your entire focus. Can you talk a little bit more about how you balance school and sport?
Sure. I think this part's easier for me because I didn't grow up believing I was athletic. I brought a book to my first soccer game. That's how much I thought I was going to play. And so I always loved school, loved reading. And going into high school, I was like, oh, I kind of like track. Like, this is fun. But I didn't believe it would go past high school. And then my sophomore year, I got kind of good. I said, oh, maybe I could make a run at this for college. But school was always the first priority. It was my first love. And so I think that helps a lot. And also just remembering, like, at some point I will stop running. That point is coming sooner than I'd like to think at this point. But I think it helps to have the balance of school and track, because even if I'm running slow, like, you can have bad days athletically, you can have bad days, I mean, academically too, but to kind of go back to the things I can control. And have that being working on school when I'm having a bad day in track, to have my mind off of that into something else, and vice versa. I think the balance has been really good for me.
I so appreciate you sharing that. And I think it's something that is really helpful in recognizing, again, that identity consideration of, more than an athlete, quote unquote. Jordan, as she's talking about this balance, how does that balance go for you? I recognize that high school students, especially who prioritize academics and athletics like you do, that's a lot on your plate. There's a lot of responsibility there. How does that balance look for you?
I'm kind of in the same boat as Kyra. I mean, like, I know I'm athletic, but I've always thought I was smarter than I was athletic. So for me, it's also academics first. And I've never really thought about banking on an athletic scholarship either. It's always been academics. Jordan, you're so smart. Jordan, you'll get an academic scholarship, this and that. So.
I would love to hear from both of you about how the athletic component is contributing or challenging when you're pursuing these other things that are really important to you. What's the participation in sports kind of doing for you in terms of what we would kind of call transferable skills?
I think it kind of goes back to having like a little support system, but also it makes me more confident as a person when I have like a good game or something. And it's just fun for me. And I really like having like it's part of my personality. I played basketball since I don't even remember, as long as I can remember, and it's just always been a part of me and who I am.
What for you?
I would wait. What was the question again?
Oh, and now I'm gonna forget now that we said that. What are the ways that sports kind of contribute to all the other goals you have in terms of like the transferable skills or the life skills?
Yeah, absolutely. First, I'd say it's like a place away from everything else. And I think in sports practice, you don't have a ton of time to think about how the test you just took went or anything like that. You are focused on exactly what you need to be doing in that moment. And so that ability to lock in and focus on one thing, I think, is a transferable skill, but it also really helps when something else isn't going well to have this other thing, like, this is what I can control right now. I can hit my time on this rep, or I never really played basketball, but like focus on this shot or something like that. I think is super important. And then in terms of other transferable skills, just that ability to pick yourself up after something doesn't go your way. So in a track meet, you're usually running at least 2 races. You'll have your individual race and then the relay. And no matter how the individual race goes, there are people counting on you to get yourself together and run as well as you did the first time, or if not better, in an hour or two. And so that ability to kind of pick yourself up, say, that's the past, this is the future, and this is where I need to focus, has been really helpful to me to kind of learn that skill through sports and bring it back to other areas in my life. And finally, just the value of hard work. I think it's fair to say that America isn't a meritocracy in all the ways we'd like to believe it is. But in sports, I mean, there are also imbalances, but for the most part, if you work hard, you can see certain results. And that has been really rewarding for me, just in terms of like, if I work really hard at this thing, I know I can get what I want. And so bringing that back into the classroom as well, and sort of saying, if I put all I need to do in here, and learning how to ask for help within those spaces. So it's not just, I'm going to do everything I can, but if I can't figure out this lift, I'm going to ask the lift coach. I'm going to stay after and work. And that's the same thing as being in the classroom and understanding something and getting a tutor. And understanding that those aren't things that are coming from a place of weakness, but strength, and using your community has been something that I learned first in sports and kind of had to bring back to the classroom, because you can be smart. And in high school, I was like, who needs a tutor? And then I got to college and took calculus. I said, I need a tutor. So those sorts of skills of learning the humility, I think, that comes in sports, and bringing that back to the classroom has been super important too.
I want to, Teresa and Kyra and Jordan, before we wind things up, I loved how kind of that process looked. And tell us a little bit just about like how do people get in touch with SheMate? What's kind of the process of that? And then Jordan and Kyra, I want to ask you as we close, kind of what are your future goals and aspirations?
Yeah, so we do most of our work through our website. And so people can just contact us through our website and our contact us page. So we are shemate.club, CLUB. And submitting just your interest is the best way to get started with us.
Okay. And you said a collection of 3,000 athletes. What type of individuals have engaged? Is it elementary, through collegiate, professional? Who is this targeted for?
Yeah, so typically we work with high school students who are involved in extracurriculars currently. They may or may not be planning to play sports after high school. Okay. But just recognizing that there is a lot of just inherent challenge and pressure existent in those years. And our community of athletes know well how to handle those things, just like Kyra was demonstrating in her story of those transitions like into college and how you start realizing the support that you need. Being able to share that story and connect that with people a few years behind demonstrates, those things that you can really do to navigate your high school experience in ways that feel really good to you. So we really focus on that high school group, but we are expanding to younger than that and older than that.
Thank you. Jordan, future plans.
My dream school is Howard.
Okay.
And they have this STEM program, and I want to major in biology and then go on to med school, and I want to be a pediatrician.
Harrison, every week we get in here and nobody's going.
Yeah, everyone's got high goals, but that's a good thing.
Multi-syllable aspirations. So, Kyra, what about you? What's on the horizon for you?
Majoring in public policy, doing my master's in public policy right now. I don't know what I want to do when I graduate. I want to be something that helps people. I want to be able to see the impact of what I'm doing every day. And I want something that challenges me the way I feel like I've been challenged in school and have been in track, something that makes me scratch my head a little bit and go, how do I get this done? So that's kind of a very broad career aspiration, but yeah.
Powerful. Quick closing. Piece of advice. 3 words or 1 sentence, Jordan. You piece of advice to anybody listening.
You're bigger than your performance.
Love that. Love that. Kyra.
Asking for help makes you smart.
Teresa.
Perfection is not possible.
Love it. Hey, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank you, Jordan, Teresa, Kyra, for joining us today on Bigger Than the Score. As I close, Maya Angelou said, I love to see a young girl out there grab the world by the lapels. Life is tough. You got to go out and just go ahead and kick somebody's rear end. With that being said, this is Pete Ferguson on 93.7 The Ticket, Bigger Than the Score. We'll see you next Sunday.
The Southern Pecan Cake from Beatrice Bakery. They don't just let you call anything Southern, especially when it's baked right here in Nebraska. There are standards you have to meet, like a rich, decadent, moist caramel cake? Check. Bursting with too many large pecans to count? Check. Big enough to share with the whole group? Check. But delicious enough that you won't want to share? A big check on that one. The Southern Pecan Cake, the newest cake to the Beatrice Bakery lineup. Try it for yourself at Beatrice Bakery, online at beatricebakery.com. Welcome to our world of yum.
I'm Karen Carr. I've been a realtor for 31 years. When I made a company change 12 years ago, I chose Lincoln First Realty, now NP Dodge. It's the oldest independently owned realty company in the country. Since becoming NP Dodge, we've continued our tradition of community involvement. Our management and staff are always available to offer support in marketing, technology, social media, and educational opportunities.
Expand your career with NP Dodge. Call Eric at 402-434-2222.
Belmont Chiropractic and Novotny Nutrition and Wellness specialize in getting rid of people's pain quickly and permanently. For 31 years, they've been extremely successful with advanced techniques in pain relief using spinal adjustments and decompression, detoxification, diet and lifestyle modification, and more. They are fully equipped to handle the most seasonal athlete, weekend warrior, car accidents, strains, sprains, and more. Is there anywhere you're experiencing pain on your body, or are you fighting decreased energy and depression? Consult Belmont Chiropractic and Novotny Nutrition and Wellness first at 402-476-8619.
Most parents have a homework schedule for the weekdays, but don't forget to cover the weekends. I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State